Good evening, everyone. And looks like we got the first person, Shirley Vega. Hello. So we are in FMX number 3, July 18, 2024, going live at 21 EST. Today has been a beautiful sunny day, same as before, with some humidity, and we still got some humidity later down in the evening. So this is part 3 of this illustration of Ziya. The prompt is him throwing a frisbee, and for what we left off yesterday, I was mostly refining the frisbee, which is, let's see, there we go. So where we left off from yesterday is it was mostly refining this prop right here, the frisbee. I was just mostly just getting the line work done, getting the coloring, the details, especially closer up in here. And so far, that part is 80%, 80 to 90% done. I just need to add in some little more elements like fixing up the decals of those and also add in the grooves down here. Once I'm done with the frisbee itself, the next step is moving on to the background. I'm going to add in the foliage and details of the building. And once I'm done with that, I should be able to start doing the lighting, the shading, the final step for this illustration. Normally, I don't usually do dailies like these, but for cases like this, I want to push on actually getting this illustration done as soon as possible. So that's why I'm kind of pushing myself to. I guess in a way, these sessions has been helping me getting myself essentially pushing myself to get this thing done. So for today's milestone, like I said, I'm hoping to finalize this piece and start working on the background. That's kind of the important part. Originally I was supposed to have everything I was supposed to go live earlier, like maybe 3 hours earlier. However, things has happened, and I just had to get that thing sorted before focusing on this. So all that's done. I don't want to talk too much about it, but hopefully everyone's having a good day. I'm feeling good, as usual. Hopefully I don't suffocate from the heat like I did yesterday, but I made some adjustments, and hopefully we go from there. All right, with that being said, I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to move on to working on this piece. So let's see. I'm going to begin with another energetic track. Just grab some new, download some new tracks from yesterday, in between yesterday's session. So we're gonna go with some house music with Gesaffelstein.
House of Bands curated by Boiler Room. Coming up next is Gesaffelstein.
And the same rules applies as always.
Room. Come on, guys, behind us, please make some room.
And the same rules applies to like yesterday. We're gonna do rounds. So right now we're in round 1, and for each round is an hour time limit, and we're gonna do a 15-minute break in between. And we're gonna keep moving on. I'm thinking for today we're gonna go for 3 rounds. That's the idea. Hopefully it goes well. But yeah, I'm just gonna add in the timer, and let's begin. Alright, so right now I'm focusing on fixing up this piece right here. That's kind of the important part. I want to get the decal of both the white and the gold in, and we got Annie Dream on in with the emojis. So nice to see you, Annie. I need to find a way how to enable that sort of like emoji on screen because I feel like I think that'll be interesting. I know some other people has done it, so why not? Why not? Alright, so it's gonna slowly make my way through around the Frisbee and just go there. And when it comes to connections, I'm still going with the Ethernet, so hopefully we don't suffer any sort of disconnect. I did suffer a disconnect during the pre-stream phase. Hopefully it doesn't occur in between. Cross my fingers on that part. Whoops. Yeah, I don't want to. On this part, I don't want to get too crazy on this piece because, I mean, on one hand, I want to make this this decal perfect, but on the other, I don't want to get, like I said, too crazy because I'm gonna be here all day if I do this. So it's got to just work with the clock on this piece. I know for sure that once we reach to the background, it shouldn't be as difficult because there isn't going to be much attention to detail compared to this. So at least with that, I have some give and some leeway on that. Alright, I need to find a way. I'm curious. Is there a way to actually? I know there's a way to rotate the canvas, so I'm gonna look and see if there's a way. Because I know with Affinity Photos you can. I've done it many times when I was working on Roll's gift. I actually been rotating the canvas a lot. And that's something I kind of noticed between multiple programs, both on, I guess you can say, industry standard like Photoshop, like Adobe, versus all of the competitors like Affinity Photo, Designer, Clip Studio Paint, Krita Paint, that sort of thing. It's like, even though, yeah, Adobe is kind of the leading industry standard as people call it, there are, in a weird way, there are actually elements that they tend to overlook and don't take in consideration. Meanwhile, other softwares, they just simply have it like right out of the box, which is surprising. For example, one of the tools that I tend to use is actually, so besides this, some of my earlier works before I became Aiko, I went by a different name, and it's not the venture that most people are thinking. This is actually Proto Ico, and it gets in that weird timeline. And during that time, I was doing. People were requesting me to make art of their OCs and stuff, and I didn't develop the style I have today. So what I did back then is I've actually sketched the character themselves, and I would actually finalize it using fine lines, using the pen tool. Kind of like this similar gesture that Dallas is making, like very sharp, it's both like very sharp line work, but you can see that like there's a lot of line weight and curves, like that sort of aesthetic. That was kind of like the style I did back then, and to get the effect, I actually didn't use like the pen tool at all. I'm sorry, the tablet. I actually used the pen tool on Affinity Designer, and I would just simply trace over the sketch that I've done. And in Affinity Designer, there's actually a tool where you can actually adjust the weight of the line. So let's take, for example, this piece right here. So if I drew this line as a pen tool, in Affinity Designer, I have the ability to actually adjust the line weight of here, so I can make this pointy, and I can have this end pointy, or maybe adjust this point, like maybe very thin. That is like one tool that I love the most with Affinity Designer, and when I tried it on Illustrator, there is no such thing, and it kind of baffles me. It's like an Illustrator has been around for I don't know how long, and they never implement it at all, or have something similar to that. And even though I have worked with Illustrator in some capacity, mostly for making like assets, vector assets for other projects, and occasionally logos, and especially editing logos for special cases. I find the UI on Illustrator very clunky and kind of not user friendly. Like it feels like they haven't really evolved the UI to modern standards, and that's the part that baffles me the most. Like you think for I mean for industry, for like a company, a software company that big, and having so much support and usage from both amateurs to professionals, you'd think that they'll actually implement some unique features that no other programs can do, but that's not the case. Besides Adobe, I remember actually utilizing Autodesk, especially in Maya, when I did 3D modeling and animation. And besides the licensing, I mean, that's like a whole different topic in itself, the licensing. The features and I guess the stability of the software isn't as what people will think, especially the price you're paying for Maya. Like I've used Maya for maybe 4 to 5 years, and I've done some work with it, and I've worked with different hardware with that software itself. I work with on laptops, I'm working on desktops, my iMac, that sort of thing. And the one thing I kind of noticed is like it feels like Maya tries to be like the all-in-one package as it claims to be. Like you can use Maya to do animation, modeling, sculpting, and stuff like that. Yet it doesn't do, for what people has been saying, especially professors, when I had to take Maya class, they tend to say, yeah, it does everything, but does bad in everything. I don't know. That part kind of baffles me in some way. Like again, like you think for a company that big and with that so much support, you hope that they will provide the best support possible or the best ideas forward on it, but they didn't. So when I transitioned to Blender for a time, and I remember when I was working on this gift art for Dan, it's that Splatoon illustration of him holding the dualies in midair. I remember working with that, and just just using the UI alone, I mean, yeah, it was like a bit of a learning curve transitioning from the Maya UI to Blender UI. It's just still like it's amazing how pretty simple and like I guess you could say user friendly the whole system is, especially how the whole software is free, which is amazing. It's just one of those pet peeves of mine that's been in my head for a bit. I mean, of course, I shouldn't let that like be too. I shouldn't be like too harsh in it in some way because, I mean, I can always like if let's say if I'm too frustrated with the software and it's not providing me the results I'm looking for, then I'll just transition to another software if I really have to. I mean, I've kind of transitioned to Affinity pretty well, and I've actually am considering getting Affinity Photo and Designer 2 because they actually released like a sequel of the software. So if maybe one day I'll try it out on one illustration, and maybe I'll actually enjoy it. Yeah, funny you should mention the shortcomings of Adobe programs. Recently, I've been watching a few artists and designers voicing complaints with the program. Of course, the impetus was the recent controversy the company had found this of it, but it seems that the frustration in Adobe been boiling for a while. Also, hello, Waymoot. Yeah, I mean, I heard about the whole controversy with Adobe, and yeah, a lot of the people frustration has been boiling up a lot, and it's mostly because, I mean, Adobe is still part of the creative division, and I mean, you can only have so much people talking about the same frustration, and nothing much can be done. I guess what the new policy has happened, it kind of broke the camel's back, and that led to a justifiable public outcry. And now all of the nonsense Adobe has been pulling, especially their cancellation fee, has finally been brought into light and got the attention of the government. Which, I mean, it feels good that they've done it. I just personally kind of wish it was done a little sooner. But to tell you the truth, I mean, Adobe isn't like the only one that tends to have that sort of restraint towards people. I guess another example I can give you is interior photography, because if you ever go to like Zillow.com or one of those like apartment listings, and you'll see all of those photos of like those fancy photos of the interiors, that's what it's called. There's actually an industry for that, and with that, there's actually a piece of software and hardware. I forgot the name of it, but what this service does is you purchase this hardware and you order a subscription for that hardware to work. And what it does is that it takes a photo of the interior of the building that you're trying to sell, and it does some cool things. One is it saves to the cloud, but also if you take multiple photos around the building, you can actually what's called a dollhouse mode, where it actually converts all the photos into a 3D model of the entire house itself. And to me, I found that really cool, and the possibilities of that on my application can be quite helpful, because imagine if I can just go to a hotel room or an abandoned mall in some way, just grab some photos, convert it into the 3D model. I mean, I got myself like an instant map right there, and that can be converted to VR chat or maybe a game asset for Unity. The possibility of that is crazy, not just for that industry. But again, the issue with that service is, for one, it's a subscription based. there is no like a perpetual license, which is annoying. And two, you pay for the hardware from this company, and again, you have to also pay for subscription to gain access of the software and the service to do that. And the reason why most people aren't talking about it or discussing about it is because it's kind of like a niche department in an industry in itself, and it's kind of sad because, I mean, you kind of wish that there will be some competitor out there that will just simply take full advantage of it and just make like a perpetual offline software and just call it a day. So it's not just Adobe. I mean, Adobe is like kind of like the best example that has been brought to light. But unfortunately, he's not just the only beast out there. And like I said, it's kind of sad, but in certain cases like that, I mean, what can you do? Yeah, I apologize if this sounds if it went like a little depressing on this sort of topic. It's like, I mean, it is upsetting, but what I can tell you on the flip side is, when it comes to the industry itself, especially with what we're doing, the best thing you can do is, if it's something that you don't like, or if you feel like the service that you are been working for is not providing you the same results you want, or you don't like the practice, I mean, thankfully now there's actually options out there for you to try out. And actually, in a way, it's encouraging to be able to be versatile on different softwares, because yeah, I mean, Adobe and Autodesk are the leading industry when it comes to creative softwares. Yes, that's true. However, I feel like now it's not as a strong part of the resume as it was before, because for what I heard is that the better way to make yourself, I guess in a way, helpful, is if you're willing to be versatile and flexible on different softwares. Because I can tell you for one thing, in the film industry, they don't use Adobe at all. They use softwares like Houdini, Nuke, and other softwares that worth like $10,000, and those don't use like this UI you're familiar with. They use what's called nodes, and I can go further on that part, but that requires me to actually show you the software itself. Unfortunately, I don't have it in my hands. I wish I had, but the point being is, even today, like, even though I'm using Photoshop right now, I still there's a point where I want to try out and experiment with Clip Studio Paint, Krita, GIMP, like those type of softwares. So in case one day, if Adobe pulls like another thing, like what just happened, or who knows, maybe Adobe went out of business and you lose all your support, or you lose everything. I mean, you got to adapt. You got to willing to learn, because even today, yeah, I mean, Adobe itself, like right now, I'm a bit comfortable with the software, but one day maybe I want to try and experiment something different. It's all about that. It's just all about experimenting. It's all about trying new things, and who knows, maybe one day when you try that different software, there'll be that one thing that you like from that thing, and maybe it'll just or change the way you do your thing. That's my take on it. I'm just trying to spin this in a more positive light. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so we got that part. What I'm seeing on the reference, The version I'm seeing, okay, so it also has an indent in there, so I'm going to do that as well. Yeah, that's how they did it. It's just that I feel like I think it's better to dedicate the energy to learn how to adapt and learn how to circumvent the problem of what faces you. And this doesn't apply to just software itself, but also can be in platforms. Because I know for one, every platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, MySpace, Facebook, MSN, that sort of thing, it's just they'll have their own rules, their own algorithms, and their own people. And I mean, sure, you can be successful on one platform, but in my opinion, I feel like that's too much of a gamble. Like you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Because I feel like what happens if one day Instagram implodes, or what happens if one day a staff member decides to go rogue and shut down your account? Then all your income is like shut out right there. To me, it's like I always like the idea of always trying out new things, even if, let's say, a service does not go well. Because I can tell you, one of the services that I had to experiment before, I'm not sure, I don't think you guys ever heard of it, but in my previous job, it was a startup company, and yeah, one of the things we had to do is we have to be on the leading edge on everything from services to tech, everything. And of course, one of the things I had to do is I have to find the latest and hottest social media platforms. And one of the platforms at that time that was being hyped was called Clubhouse. And if you never heard about the social media platform called Clubhouse, then you're not alone. Because what Clubhouse was supposed to be is it's supposed to be a social media app that's audio only. And imagine a podcast. Like everyone can be a podcaster, where you click on the user of this channel, and it leads you to this room, and the presenter can announce like here their presentation or their sales pitch or whatever, and they'll let the users, once there's a feature called raise your hand, so once you enable that feature, you can enable that person to speak. It's kind of like I guess you could say that service is kind of like a virtual meeting hub or a virtual presentation hub, because when it began, some of the high people actually went into Clubhouse, from the CEO of Netflix, Elon Musk, those type of people. And I happened to stumble one channel in there where the CEO of Netflix happens to take like Q&As of the business venture of the streaming service at that time. So it was a serious thing in its own niche community, and it was thanks to certain people that helps push the hype of it. I know Gary Vee, he was like a very popular influencer at the time, in the entrepreneur side of YouTube. He pushes that platform a lot back when it was new, and I actually had to take full advantage of that platform and try in some way to get it to work. I mean, consider what we're doing, there isn't much we can do on that platform, and I think we haven't done anything at all. I mean, I still have an account, and I mean, I haven't installed it on my phone for a while, but I went back to it a couple times, and honestly, the service is pretty much dead. Nobody goes to Clubhouse anymore. But it was an interesting experiment. I mean, it was an interesting idea, but it never really caught on. I think it's still going on. Like, there are some CEOs that still utilize the app. So I guess in a way, it's still used by entrepreneur people, high-end capitalists. I think that's where most of the people tend to utilize it. The Silicon Valley Bros, as I call it. That's that I know it has been well utilized on that part. But ever since that, I think other platforms tend to copy that feature. I think Twitter did it, and I think also Discord. Yeah, Discord also did it as well. But yeah, that was I remember that was an interesting experience in that part. Okay, so there's a little imbalance in this part, so I'm gonna keep on working on this. We have 33 minutes left for round one, so I'm gonna speed up and keep on. I'm gonna speed this up as much as I can because I want to get this part done, and I want to get the rings done as soon as possible because in round two I want to focus on the background. But hopefully that is if I have the time. Alright, we're making progress on that part. So all I have to do is just... Yeah, let's do that. This does raise a question when it comes to providing unique features on platforms itself. Um, I know with the recent rise of the new hot button trend with AI, what's your opinion? Like, do you feel like lately these tech companies have been providing services and features that nobody ever asked for? Like, do you feel like they're shoving you stuff that nobody wants or nobody asked for in some way? I'm curious on your end on that part. Yeah, so right now I'm just preserving I'm just preserving my voice as much as I can, because if I go all out within the first hour, then it'll be shut up. It'll be like all shot out throughout the rest of the session, and I don't want that to happen again. It's definitely a necessity for artists to post their work on multiple platforms. I can't really think of media the hosting site where there hasn't been widespread complaints from artists about their work being taken down or their accounts being suspended. I think the least complaints I might have heard from are Pixiv, and even then, it's far from ideal with that regard. At least there seems to be a lot of options, and I continue to find new ways of hosting art I never heard of. Yeah, I mean, I've witnessed artists like during my time around like in the past, and I remember recalling people like in the past, like people I used to encounter with, they tend to complain about the features or um, complain about the limitations, like from Twitter posts or how Instagram posts their art in some way, and yeah, it is an obstacle, and I can see why people can get frustrated in that. But unfortunately, I mean, it's kind of like a game that we all have to play. And in a way, that's something you shouldn't. That should be like an obstacle or a limitation. That should be like a unique way of how you can distribute in that platform itself. That, in my opinion, like, yeah, Instagram has like a very strict size limit on how you post your art. Like, I think Square is like the most ideal, and you cannot provide links. Meanwhile, on Twitter, you have like a character limit. I think they did away with that. They extended it, and and yet you do like hashtags stuff like that, so that has its own unique features. And Pixiv, that's its own thing, especially if you're entering the wild side. Let's say that. I know there's a specific rule you had to follow the Japanese rule on that part, so there's that. It's annoying, can be, but like I said, I mean you can't see it as an obstacle all day long, but I mean, you can also think of it as an opportunity, and think of like a unique way of how you can extend and also try out that platform and see how it works. And maybe the way it's designed might help you think of a unique way of how you distribute it. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Like when it comes to posting my archives on my live stream, I know YouTube is like the main thing, but unfortunately, I cannot. If I do it on places like BitChute and Rumble, I mean, I could do it, but unfortunately, the audience for those sites may not be ideal, because I think those are like the breeding ground of very, very specific people, and honestly, I don't want them to counter what I do. So yeah, there are exceptions, but still, I mean, I'm not. At the same time, like I mean, I don't mind trying out and see what else is there to offer. Like I know we talked about Tumblr yesterday, and definitely soon I will actually want to try out Tumblr and see what I can get with that. I mean, I'm aware it won't be as big compared to other platforms, but it's something worth trying out. And again, back what we discussed about trying out Pixiv to show off the work in progress, but in like a compilation. That is something I haven't thought of, and maybe that's something I want to try out. So, I don't know. To me, I always like to try out and experiment, and sometimes it doesn't work. And if it doesn't, then yeah, it's best to move on and try another method of fixing that problem. Because that's all it is. That's all it is at the end of the day. Finding unique ways to solve the problem of this. Yeah, and even though I have experimented with other services like Kara, even though it's still new and I don't have yet much to show, I mean, it's something I'll still try and experiment in some way. Alright, almost done, almost done. Alright, I'm just gonna fix up this piece, and I'm gonna move on to the rings, because I feel like that's gonna take up most of the time. All right, cool. That's done. I know it's like not perfect, but I mean for what we got, I mean it is what it is. I mean I could, like I said, I could perfect this with a pen tool, but I think that kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do. I'm just going to just do some last touches, and then we can move on to this piece right here. This piece, because I know that's going to consume the rest of the time for round 1. What? That's odd. Okay, that's done. Let's move on to the rims, because oh boy, this is gonna take most of my time. I mean, thankfully it's not as intense compared to the rings, but still, I know this is gonna be annoying a bit. But like I said, it needs to be done. Also, on the whole AI, a lot of it does feel like companies trying to find the next big thing. Part of the problem for me is how overuse the term and apply it pretty much anything that utilizes an algorithm. Particularly for tech that already existed or only slightly update technology, but it seems that in a number of cases, the capacity of the technology is oversold, or the fact that it's utilizing something else's context with a different coat of paint is overlooked. Yeah, I mean, I kind of know. I knew that. I mean, I kind of knew that the term AI is like the hot topic at this time, and a lot of companies tries to flock in and capitalize it the best in their abilities, even if it has no purpose or no reason to exist in their service or platforms. They'll find a way to shoehorn it. Because I remember back when NFTs was like the hottest thing, like 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of companies tries to push NFTs, from Wawa to Burger King, Samsung with their TVs. Like if you purchase a TV from Samsung, you are gifted with a bunch of NFTs for that. Wendy's done it, Nike does it. Like even when I was working in a startup, we were pushed on the idea of NFTs and how we can force that on people. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but unfortunately with these tech bros and essentially pushing a tech that like to its like highest capacity, it does lead to what we are seeing right now. Because I haven't forgotten back when, because this ain't like a new thing. Because, I mean, we had, of course, the algorithm. Like, that term was thrown out a lot, especially in 2017 to 2019. Ever since the election year, the term algorithm has been overused a lot. From, like, the YouTube algorithm to the Facebook algorithm. Like, that was a big thing. And if we want to go further back, we have what's called, I remember 3D printing. That was another hot topic that a lot of people tend to flock over. You get, of course, the startup companies that tries to make like unique props and toys using 3D printing. And of course, you got the extreme cases of people actually printing the pew pew, like Nerf blasters, and that led to a new thing. Oh, and let's not forget Google Glass. That was another thing. Oh, and let's not forget VR. Oh, that's VR. That was a hot thing 2 years ago, and 10 years ago we had 3D TVs. If anyone forgot about that, I haven't forgotten like how people hate the concept of 3D TVs. Like it was shoehorned on every single TV that was sold on Best Buy, Target, like everywhere. Like you can't even buy a new TV without that 3D technology implemented into it. So, oh yeah, drones. Let's not forget about that. I mean that was also a big thing as well. Uh, so the advertisement can come off as a bit insincere and obnoxious, but like everyone, I realize there are legitimate use in certain contexts. It just seems that companies are going out of the way to avoid those uses. Yeah, it's just. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it's there has been like legitimate use on some of these technology. Like I know 3D printing has been very helpful on making when it comes to the entertainment side, you can use it to create toys, jewelry, um, Dungeons and Dragon pieces, Warhammer pieces, because I know people who actually use that, who took full advantage of that on that part. And you of course got the more of the utilitarian use. People has used it to create unique parts on vintage computers or hardware to even metal equipment. So there has been legitimate use. AI. I mean, even though it is a very very touchy subject, and I know that in the art world is heavily demonized, but if you to give it credit, it does help if you use it right. If you do use it correctly, it can be helpful in some way. Like I personally had utilized it when it was new to actually generate templates and kind of like reference ideas as like a starter, and it has helped me in some way. Like rather than getting stuck on a prompt or rather than get like dumbfounded on writing on an article on something, I can let the AI generate a template or an example, take that example and reform it under my application. So there has been uses in that. So every technology does have a use. It's just, of course, when the tech bros and the people coming up hyping the everlasting poop out of it can be annoying. It's a bit of a. This is gonna be like a bit of a side thing, but when I ordered this this Wacom Cintiq from eBay, I got a message from the seller saying saying something about like thank you so much for the purchase of the tablet. I hope this goes to a great artist that will take good use of it, and I find that very sweet. Especially, I'm not sure if it's a he or she or they, but the fact that this person was so kind enough to just give me updates and all that stuff, it made me happy. And when I felt bad like having to reply late because I was so busy with other stuff. But when I got the chance to actually reply to this person and say like, hey, just let you know that the tablet came in all safe and secure. It's been put to good use. I've already sketched a couple illustrations of it. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the purchase. Oh man, and like just getting the response and saying like it goes something about like you're welcome with a smile emoji and like a thumbs up. I don't know, something about that makes me kind of happy because it feels like the seller kind of was hoping that it will go into the right hands. And I guess I guess in a way. I mean, it definitely did help me a lot on my production. That's for sure. I don't know, it's just little things that that does put me a smile. Alright, we're hitting the 5-minute mark. So I'm gonna keep on pushing until we hit the timer. How that works. Come on, respond. There we go. Yeah, we can do one more ring like that. Yeah, that's as far as I can go. Oh, okay. All right, so we just end. So this is the end of round 1. So here is the results so far. I mean, it is not much considering it's the first hour. Um, I did complete. I did manage to finally refine the stickers in the middle, and right now I'm focused on getting the rings out. I'm hoping for round 2 I can just get the rings like out of the way so I can just focus on the background because I feel like I'm starting to get a little behind on that part. Um, oh, and also I gotta fix this part as well, so that I have to take in consideration. Um, yeah, I mean there isn't really all that much, but I mean, I mean, I mean, yeah. It's, okay, so let's see. I'm going to do this. So this is like a new element I just inserted. There we go. So we're just going to do like a 15-minute timer. I'm just going to, before we head into round 2. So give me a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Oh, and this time with just so we don't have dead silent, I'm going to do this. There we go. All right, I'll be right back. I'd say for this break, once the timer hits 5, we're gonna get back to it. So I just need to stand up for a bit and let's do that. Yeah, in a way, I'm kind of surprised, like how much work is required on something as simple as like a prop. I mean, maybe there is like a way for me. Maybe there's a way to cut down the time on certain ways, but yeah, it was pretty time consuming. I can say that. But I mean, it shouldn't be too much of a downer because I know that I feel like the payout will be worth it once it's all finalized. So that I'm looking forward to. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but after this illustration, there is actually another art trade that I promised someone. So with that, hopefully by next week I can begin working on that. I can't promise if I will do like the daily sessions, but if I do, then I mean we can go with that. I mean, hopefully these dailies isn't like too spammy or like filler. To me, I felt like a nice way for me to keep myself in check to ensure that the work gets done. So that's to me it helps in some way, but I'm just hoping that it's not too spammy to people. That's what I'm trying to prevent, because originally I was meant to do these sessions like once a week or maybe twice a week, and do like a free-for-all Fridays like once in a while. So for me, doing this 3 days in a row is kind of crazy, and just the idea of it. But I mean, it does help me speed up the workflow and learn how to adjust some things. So that I'm happy about. It's just it's like a 15-minute break. That's what the countdown is for. I think I'm going to have to I think I'm going to have to write like a text above just so people know. But once it hits the 6-minute mark, we can get back to the session. All right. Okay. All right, that's out. Let's put this back in. All right, so we're entering round 2. So with whoa, that's not that happened. So for round 2, I'm going to finish up the rings on the outer, and with the extra time, I'm going to work on the background. Because I'm so done with this Frisbee. I really want to get this thing out of the way. All right. All right, timer up. Let's go back to Nobody and go with his mixtape. There we go. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna turn it up a bit. I'd say let's do 3 more of this. Actually, I was going to do this on. Yeah, I think that's as much as we're gonna get on that march. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how people tend to work on their stuff, whether they listen to music or have a live stream or YouTube on the background. To me, I think I mentioned this in day one, where I tend to listen to music, mostly instrumentals, whether it's like relaxing to more energetic. That's kind of the way I go. But I guess in special cases where I feel like so sleep deprived and I cannot keep my eyes open or focused, then I will just go with YouTube or a live stream and go. And go with that. I think I'm going to add one more ring on this part, and we're going to call it on that part. Yeah, because if I put too much, then this part won't be established. Okay. Come on, let's gonna move on. Yeah, it's a lot, but all right. For this, I'm gonna have to move these over here. close. Alright, we got 42 minutes for round 2. Not too bad, but it's still like a little bit behind. Alright, 3 more and we can we can be done with this part. So one thing I guess one way to pass the time is I can say this. I would say the weather this year has been it has been hot, but in my opinion it wasn't as bad compared to last year. Because what happened was the place I was working at, they had to do maintenance on the HVAC, and so with that, the building that we were in, they had to maintain the HVAC during that time. So what that means is no AC. And it stinks because when you're in the extreme summer heat, the insulation in the building, it's ludicrous. Like it can go as bad as like 70 to 80 at like 80 degrees inside, and it's suffocating. So as a resolution from last year, we were instructed we were essentially transferred to another building, which they don't have AC as well, but they actually utilize like makeshift fans to help combat the heat. I think you might want to raise your voice. Oh, I can just do that. Does that help? But yeah, I'll just go back for a bit. So last summer, the building that I was working at, the HVAC or the AC unit has to be repaired, and so with that, we were essentially transferred to another building, which also doesn't have AC, but at the very least has like makeshift fans, and it did cool off the place for a bit, but the humidity was bad, like really bad. But I remember whenever like after our shift, when I get back to my car, right as I opened the door, I was like blasted with like a huge wave of like humidity heat. Like it was suffocating. But what's kind of odd is that for this season, like this year, it wasn't as intense. I mean, it's still bad. Don't get me wrong. Like one time, this happened like a month ago. I was out for a film session at a memorial at Atlantic City. It was like at the Stockton campus, and during there, I had to be there to film like a presentation and the reveal of a statue within the park of the memorial during Memorial Day. But I did remember when I was out in the parking lot, right as I got out of the car, I was blasted by the heat, and I can feel like the sun like burning into my skin. And I didn't have any sunscreen, so I thought I might as well fight through it. And I was out for maybe 2.5 to 3 hours, and I didn't feel anything. But right as I came back home, I came home with a nasty sunburn on my face and my arms, which, yeah, that wasn't pleasant. Thankfully, the aftermath wasn't severe, but still, it's kind of surprising. Like, I wasn't even out that long, and that was enough to burn my skin. That same month, there was also another event that I had to go out and film. Thankfully, we were in the stadium. So this other event, I essentially spent 2 weeks prepping, test running, and ensuring everything is all ready to go. Because what this event is, this has to be broadcasted not only online, but also through the TV channel. So I had to coordinate and ensure that it's broadcasting both ends simultaneously, and ensuring that everything is all functional as is. And the stadium that I was assigned to go on and film, I mean, it was great. I mean, thankfully there was AC, which was good, but the biggest issue was the bees, and not just any bees, wasps. For what I heard, thankfully with wasps, especially if they're individuals, they don't really attack you. They act like kind of like flies. It's just when they're like a horde of them, and if there's like a nest, that's where the big trouble arrived. But I remember when I was like setting things up, the first day wasn't bad, but day 2, when I was like test running and everything's all secure, I saw like a black wasp like buzzing around. Like first it went in my head, and I was just swatting, like thinking it was like a fly. But the next second, it was on my arm, and I remember like waving my arm around and just bolting out of the room. Of course, with a wasp, you're not supposed to do that, but just the surprise of it was enough for me to not respond properly. But it was even worse during the day of the event, where right as I opened the door, I was greeted with 2 wasps, and one of them was buzzing right towards me. So I essentially had to run out of the room just to clear it out. Yeah, it wasn't fun. But thankfully, we opened the windows during the event, and with that, I mean, sure, during the event lasted for 2 hours, and at that period, there were wasps and insects that were buzzing in and out of the room. But thankfully, they were just focusing on just getting out the window, so they weren't bothering us. But that wasn't fun. I did have like another similar incident at Philadelphia when I used to be contracted for Penn University for their sports network, and I remember in that period, that was a period where I was a contractor, so I was mostly doing like camera operation to all that stuff. But what happened was, one day we were assigned to up in the Franklin Field for Penn. And the thing with these stadiums is that these stadiums were built 100 years ago, so they weren't accustomed to modern day equipment with like proper outlets or the right material for that. And what happens is, up in the Franklin Field, the place that I was assigned to, everything was all made out of wood, and it was summer. And the biggest issue is, one day, we were up there, and the place was infested with bees. Thankfully, uh, these bees were like very big and round, and these were what was called carpenter bees. And with these, they actually don't have stingers at all, so they can essentially buzz around and they will not do anything to you. The worst they do, they're like termites, I guess. They mostly chew through wood, but oh man, I remember the past two like for the past 2 hours, I had to stay there stationary with the camera like all steady, while like 5 to 6 carpenter bees were like buzzing all over me, and yeah, it wasn't fun, especially when they're buzzing around and bumping each other, and some of them like getting close to your head. Like that was like nightmare. That's like nightmare inducing. I mean, if it was like wasps and I had to go through that, I would just immediately like just say no. I ain't doing that. But yeah, not the best moments, but that happened. There was also another time when I was at the Franklin Field up there, where one day we were just simply out with my own business, just recording the event once again, and all of a sudden a hawk was just flying right next to me, and I looked, and the hawk was like right behind me. Well, not like right behind me, but like maybe 25 feet, like 10 to 15 feet away. But that was close for a bird like that, and I haven't got a chance to turn the camera around to get like a good look, but it was close. I'll just say that. I remember, yeah, because I'll just add this little addition when it comes to the stadium, especially for specifically the Penn Stadium. This applies to both like everything: the Franklin Field, the field, the stadium, and this basketball field and stuff like that. And that is, I remember there was like an inside joke. Me and my crew at the time, we tend to joke around, and one of the jokes we tend to be is they'll never, when it comes to revitalizing the place, they told us they will never ever revitalize it unless someone kicks the bucket on there. I mean, it's kind of upsetting, but I mean, considering how old that stadium is and how it was never updated at all, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully, the mixing between the music and my voice has been fixed. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I was attempting to raise the music so I could hear a little better, but it looks like actually I could just do it right here from now on. Yeah, I apologize about that earlier. Yeah, I just gotta make sure that it's not like too straight. It has to be curved. Yeah, I'd say with this one we can go like all the way. Hopefully that curve isn't like too much of a problem, but if it doesn't, then we'll be in big trouble. Let me see, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so with this part, I can just add the curve and we can conclude that part. No, actually I'm going to keep it like that. Alright, let me fix the sketch of this. Oh my god, thank god. We're done with this Frisbee. It may not look... Alright, so that's the Frisbee we have. May not look like now, but once we added the shading and all that stuff, then I believe it'll be a lot more interesting. Okay. Oh my god. How long have I been working on Frisbee? Like 2 days? Like, it doesn't look like all that much, but... Yeah, it's just the... Like, I don't know how other people tend to draw it, but I guess the biggest challenge with this one was, of course, the details of that part, making sure the stickers is consistent and straight. But of course, the most important part is perspective and the lettering. I believe that's what took the most time. Um, okay, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about the Frisbee for a while. I'm just gonna move on to this. Lo, I know we're going to seemingly small things for days for the Frisbee. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you get this. I don't know if you get the sensation, but when you work on something for so long, even if it's like trivial as a prop, like we're seeing right here, you think to yourself, "This is like the worst thing I ever made." But then 2 days later, once your eyes is all refreshed and all that stuff, when you look back and it's like, "Oh wow, this is actually pretty well done." I don't know. To me, that's how I feel. When I made that gift art for Roll, the moment I saw that, it's like I don't want to release this thing at all. Like I don't. I feel like it's not good enough for his eyes. So I put off from actually showing it. Like I kept on adding new things over and over again. But after putting off of it for maybe 2 days, looking back at it, it's like, oh wow, this actually is something. I don't know. I don't know if anyone gets that, but I feel like I get too harsh on my stuff. All right, enough talking. I'm going to move on to the foliage, the thing I've been promising. Before I do that, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so bear with me just a bit. Let's see, where's that image? apologize about that. I was a little so hungry. Okay. So, for the background, it was mostly inspired by this thing. Funny enough, this image you see right here, I took this 7 years ago. I was trying to practice on photography, so I went out to Brigantine. It was like at the edge, like on the other side of Atlantic City. And I was just snapping some photos, and I just took this. And while looking for the best background and the best scenario for this character, I was looking through my catalog of all my archives, like everything I've took from like years ago, and this was the image that was like the one. It's funny, like the things you took like years ago will end up becoming useful for today. So I'm glad that this will be put to good use. So, like I said, as a disclaimer, this image I did took by me with my own camera. So yeah, disclaimer out of the way. Okay, so I'm gonna find a way how to. I was gonna have this with me, so I at least know, just so I can copy the color and add in the elements as I go along. Okay, so I'd never done foliage before, so this will be a totally new process for me. But I found like a tutorial up here, like a reference sheet on, I believe that's how you do it. So I'm gonna go with that. Again, may not look good. Yeah, I definitely recognize it. It's the Atlantic City Boardwalk. Also, I agree how helpful it can be to have a collection of images readily available, though it can be pretty crazy of having a store. Oh, you don't know. Yeah. apologize for that. For the pause. It's just I don't know why. It's like I got so hungry all of a sudden, and I had to eat something. But yeah, back I was saying about like the taking photos ready available. So what I've done years ago is if there's a location that I find myself like enjoying a lot, I will actually go out and on my way to grab that photo. In the beginning, it was just like a couple photos of like a scenery. Eventually, I'll take like unique angles of like down below or maybe around. Just like scenarios, like imagine if I have my character like sitting on that seat or in the casino and that sort of thing. So eventually, it kind of grew with more and more of those. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm just losing track for a moment. Just give me 1 minute. Sorry about that. It's like I get so hungry all of a sudden. Okay. So yeah, what I was saying is, yeah, there was like I think this was like during the days when I was at Penn. I remember like thinking of all the amazing ideas of like scenery, like what's like the best scenario of my character at the time can be. So one of the ideas I had in that period is whenever I venture off Philadelphia or on my own, I will have my camera with me, and I'll actually take I'll take like photographs of sceneries, buildings, chairs, whatever, both for 3D reference, but also for illustrations, because at the time I was doing a lot of like. At the time, I was doing a good amount of Source Filmmaker. That was the software I used back then, and I was just trying to get ideas of like what maps I should make, like all the scenery, like all that stuff. So I guess ever since, I just kind of developed more and more on that habit. So whenever I go out to like a boardwalk, a city, or something like that, I'll usually take a lot of photos of like blanks of the scenery itself without me, hoping that one day I'll actually use that for future use. Actually, to go as far, I remember a couple times I would go to IKEA in Philly, and during there, I will actually I will circle around the showroom like maybe 2 or 3 times. The first time just observing, just getting an understanding of it. The second time taking photos of multiple scenarios and angles. So if one day I want to draw a character in like on the bed or maybe in the fridge or some of that, I have that photo for that. And ever since, that collection has kind of grew more and more to where it is today. I think in the end, I just kind of have like maybe like a ton of images for that scenario. And so we got this situation where I'm actually repurposing 7-year-old photos for stuff like this. But yeah, I'd say my favorite places to go and grab photos is actually in the casinos themselves. Like the interiors on those places is outstanding, and I don't know. I find it like very good subjects for future uses. Like I know I have some ideas of how they can be drawn. It's just I need to get to those one day. Yeah, I apologize if I just went off the rails, and that's just I don't know why I'm just like I was feeling a little off at the moment. That's not good. I mean, I can just do this. The interiors of casinos are pretty much worlds in themselves, even somewhere in Las Vegas where they're massive. Yeah, I actually last November I was actually in Las Vegas for the first time, and oh man, if we're talking about Las Vegas, I guess my trip there. I don't know if I've been spoiled in some way, but ever since I've been exposed to Philadelphia, New York City, and Lake City for so long, when I was in Las Vegas, like I was hoping that it'll be like something like very majestical and very like crazy. But when I was there, it's like, yeah, I mean, I did have a good time. I really did. But it felt like the first impression when I was there, it's like, oh, there's a strip. It looks like the boardwalk. There's the M&M store. Looks like New York. There's the casino. Looks like the ones in Lake City. It's like there's so many elements. It just feels like back home. So it's like I travel across the country for being in the desert with the elements, same thing like I've been. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still like very fun, especially with all the neons and all the signs, like signage all over. Like it's crazy. I love it. Um, I would say I now have a better idea of what to do next time if I ever go back there, but that was an interesting experience on my end, and I really had a good time. I really do. I really do. Um, Well, I get that. For me, a big draw of the city and my main reason for considering going back to Vegas is the shows, which are very unique. Yeah, I mean, that is like, so not all is doom and gloom in Las Vegas. I mean, this is the thing with me when it comes to traveling. I mean, I feel like I pretty much got an idea of like the basics from like shopping centers um, to shopping malls and stuff like that. So actually, I'll talk about it after once we get to the break. For now, I'm just going to yeah. Actually, let me just do this. All right. So we are in the end of round two. Um, so we began strong. We did finish the frisbee, thankfully, and now we're moving on to background. Right now, I'm in like the blocking phase of the foliage. I mean, it's not much, but for what we have, it is what it is. Eventually, once I add in the textures, like adding like the dirts on here, the highlights, and then of course the buildings, I may not get every single detail because that's not going to be the main point, and I feel like it'll be too distracting. But I feel like we're now getting on the right track. Like I feel like we're back on schedule. Of course, the biggest challenge is, of course, the clouds, which I'm gonna have to find a way how to deal with that. All right, so we'll just put that. Let's bring back the timer. There we go. Yeah, I apologize for the sudden breakup, like near the end. It's like I was doing so fine, and all of a sudden I got really hungry, like all of a sudden, and I had to eat something. Uh, it's odd because I ate something good, like what's it, like 7 hours ago. So I don't understand why it just went all of a sudden. But back to the point. Just a moment. Yeah. Sorry. All right. So when it comes to me going out, it's like the place where I'm at, I have access to Atlantic City transportation, and with that, I have the ability to go to Philly. I have the ability to go to New York, and of course, Atlantic City. The advantage of that is, of course, you do get the experience of everything from the Big Apple to the Philly cheesesteak, and of course the Atlantic City casino gambling and stuff like that. So I got a taste and everything, like a good amount when it comes to cities, the shopping malls, and all that stuff. So that I'm great at, and I really appreciate whenever I go out and to those locations. So whenever I go out to like a good distance from whether it's Orlando to like across the country, what I tend to seek out now is anything that's exclusive or something that's like very unique within that area. So, of course, I didn't come in completely blind in Vegas. In fact, I remember teased a bit. I remember a while back when the missing pencils were still active, like back in last November or October. Actually, that was like the time when. Actually, that was like the period when I was like reconnecting with the community. So it was like at that period, and I remember like mentioning like I'm going to Vegas. So that was when I was first list. Actually, when I was on the airport going to Vegas, that's when I began watching the missing pencil streams, which is surprising. But the main point is, before the Vegas trip, I wasn't actually coming in completely blind. I actually came prepared and actually planned out each day on where I'm going. Like I want to go to the Ferris wheel, I want to go to a show, I reserved tickets to those places, like everything. So when I was in Vegas, it was actually a really great time. Like day one, I was looking at the Fremont Street experience. Day two, I went to the Las Vegas site and the Pinball Museum. which I really love. I really had a good time with the museum. Um, I think with that, I've been able. To me, I'll just say this: I love pinball, and I even play it like competitively at certain cases. So any chances of me playing pinball, I would go like ballistic over it. And that museum, man, that was definitely something. Um, After that, I went to the Ferris wheel. Surprisingly, with that Ferris wheel, like the I forgot what it's called, like officially, but what happened was I was about to buy tickets, but there was like this group that was like coming out of the Ferris wheel, and they had like this ticket, and they just handed it to me. It's like, hey, the person that we're supposed to go with and come, you can have this ticket. So I went to the Ferris wheel completely for free, and yeah, it was quite scary being like way up top, but wow, it was. I love that. So that was great. I went to the Mob Museum. I even went to, um, was it the Mount? What was it? It was like this dam, like the Hoover Dam. I think yeah, that was what's called the Hoover Dam. I actually did it like surprisingly like last minute because I wasn't actually thinking of doing anything the last day, but I remember a coworker of mine recommended me to go to Mount Hoover Dam. So when I was out there in Vegas, I saw like this kiosk, and I reserved a ticket to like the tour bus, and I went there. Again, I had a good time, and oh my god, yeah! When it comes to interiors, Vegas is like great. Um, I was like, I think it was day two when I was doing the casino surfing. I was out there longer than I should. I went out at 9 a.m. and I came back at midnight. And I was constantly walking, and I deeply regret doing that because that was in complete pain. But it was so worth it. But yeah, the interiors of the casinos were outstanding, especially when it's like I have nothing to do and just wanted my own business. It's like still, it's just amazing just being able to see the interiors. Sadly, I was just simply like blazing, like I was just dedicating my time on just trying to explore everything as much as I can. So I didn't have the time, or I didn't get to fully grasp the interiors and stuff as I hope. But I did the best I can. The shopping center itself was also pretty unique because I went to a couple places, especially the boutiques. I think my favorite was actually Balenciaga because they had like the fancy. It was in the Caesar's Palace, and in it, like you have like the fancy interior, the ceiling, stars. Like that was amazing. I think I took a couple photos of that. If I remember correctly. I actually did remember I did take multiple photos for future references. So maybe one day when I illustrate, I'll actually use those images I took and dedicate them that. But yeah, definitely whenever I go out, finding that one location, finding like that unique local experience or show is what's going to be very meaningful and justifies my reason to go. Because at the end of the day, if again, maybe it's just me being spoiled or already experienced it, but it's like if it's something I cannot do in Philly, New York, or Atlantic City, that it's not worth going out or spend all that money to do that. That's my take on it. But like I said, I did not regret going to Vegas. I really had a good time with it, and I'm looking forward to go back one day. May not happen sometime soon. I already have something else planned for this November, but still, it's like, yeah. Again, great time, great time. Um, well, I would say, um, so unfortunately for tomorrow, I won't be able to do another session. I'm going to take a break from tomorrow because I have some events I have to attend. So I won't be there. I won't be able. I won't be available tomorrow to work on this. But on Saturday, I should be available. So with that, I should be able to begin the session a lot earlier, so we can finally finish this illustration. Because right now, all I have to do now is just take care of the background, the shading, lighting, and we're done. Of course, after Saturday, before the 30th, I may add some additions and some details, um, if I feel like it. But again, I'm aiming to get this done before the end of the week. So that's the main goal. But yeah, shifting back to the whole location, it's like I'm curious. When it comes to, you know, I mean, considering the location, do you feel like from? I'm just curious. Like when it comes to moving to places, do you feel like Lake City, Philadelphia, or Lake City is like your best location? Like if you have to go, if you have to choose like your best location to go, what kind of city will it be and kind of why? Um, because to me, if I have to choose a city, I would have to say, um, I would say New York City, because I've been to Philly multiple times, and for a short period, I lived there for a bit. And yeah, Philly does have some unique places. I mean, I've been to the Center City, I've been to University City, I went to the hippie town. I've been to a couple places, and of course, I've been there for concerts. Um, but it's just that I feel like there wasn't really all that much Philly has to offer to justify constantly going there, unless it's for shows. But for New York, I feel like that's like the best place for me to go because I just really enjoy all of all the unique shops from, of course, the touristy part of Manhattan. To me, I like to go to downtown Manhattan to go to the boutiques from like to the streetwear stores from Supreme, the Off White, those type of stores, and I've been to Flight Club, Dover Street Market. Those are the places I love to go. But I also do like to go to other niches like the game store. I don't know. To me, I feel like New York has more vibrancy and more variety compared to Philadelphia. Yeah, I want to take full advantage of this 15 minutes because I don't know why I'm feeling like a little bit off. Okay. All right, let's bring this back up. Okay, we are entering round 3. Um, this will be the last round for today. So my aim for today is I want to add the foliage, the details of the sand, and if I have some extra time, I'm going to be working on the background of the buildings. I may save the clouds for another time, but if I have some extra time, then I'll work on the clouds. No promises on that, but my main goal is that one. But technically, we are like 60 to 65% done on this illustration. So, I mean, we're making good progress in some way. Um, I'm not sure if I have a favorite city to visit. While I wouldn't say it's a city, I would say to visit the most in terms of pleasantness and vibes. The best city I visited might be San Diego. It has the perfect weather, it's aesthetically beautiful, and I feel relatively safe for a major metropolitan area. But in terms of sheer variety and things to see, like I said, New York City is probably the best. Yeah, I have never been to San Diego myself. Um, in fact, that might be an interesting city I would like to try out one day. Um, like I have never been much. I haven't been visiting much on the western part of the U.S. Most of my travels has been mostly the eastern because I've been to Philly, New York, Berlin, New Jersey. What else? Connecticut, South Carolina, Orlando. I've been to those locations, but when it comes to the western part, my only experience has been Las Vegas. That's as far as I go. And I guess if you count the Los Angeles airport, but I mean, most of my time there was just killing time. But I think I can add with. I think I can conclude with that. All right. Uh, this is all right. Let's get to round 3. I want I want to go to sleep, but I want to get same time. I want to get this done. I'm let's see. I'd say for round 3, I want to repeat the songs. Okay, I think we have something. So this track might be a little unique. So this was an old track I actually salvaged way back when I was I think in 2009 or 2010. And I don't think the song I don't think you can find it anymore. But the track is called MRT Rave CD 2006, and I remember jamming into this track for a long period of time, like 15, 20 years ago. So hopefully you might enjoy it. Um, I think this is a nice way to keep myself awake for round 3. So let's go with that. Yeah, with this, I don't want to spend too much time on crazy details in this part because this isn't going to be the main focus. So I'm just working with the best of my abilities on here. Yeah, so for what I've been, so what's instructed is if I just do this, this should help with the foliage. Okay, it somewhat helps, I guess. There we go, like that. Yeah, if we can see that, this should help. Like I said, this is my first time doing this sort of stuff, so this may not work, but hey, it doesn't hurt trying.
Movements in unison with others prolong and add a sensation with no limits or boundaries. Eternity is past. Wrong is right.
Alright, we're getting somewhere. Yeah, with this we can just tone down a bit. I feel like I must have exaggerated a bit with the foliage, but I mean, it's okay. Yeah, if I remember correctly, how I managed to get this song is kind of like a little bit ludicrous. Back then, I guess in the late 2000s eras, there wasn't much availability to actually get the songs through like a download or anything. So how I managed to get this song is I actually like let it record. I actually screen record of me playing the song in that particular website itself, because it was only that website itself that has the song. So I just let it play, and I remember just trimming it down, and that's how I got it. And I'd say, I mean, I felt grateful that I managed to save it in time, because just trying to find it again is like impossible now. Like, because it's buried. I think that website is maybe forever long gone, or maybe it's like forever buried under SEO. It's like, it's kind of a shame like how history can be forgotten like that. I think at this point we can tone it down a bit. Alright, so here we can just shape it up a bit, just making it look good. Indeed, even though it is pretty hackneyed sentiment, but I always wonder about how much history has been lost in virtual spaces and what future generations will think of that. Like, for so instance, so much public activity and interactions area stored in Discord server, but that can be easily lost in history at the whim of the server owner, unless something happens to archive it. Yeah. I mean, this does, I mean, for what you said, this does help bring up certain things on that I think I could touch upon. Well, yes, whatever you post online on the internet, it does stay forever at one case, but on the other case, it actually isn't as people think, because, well, yes, of course, there are cases of, let's say, if a YouTuber gets exposed or like some other stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it is forever stamped on the history of online, and that's that. But what happens to certain niche areas, like the song I was talking about? Because if I didn't save that song in that period of time, then I will never be able to hear it ever again. I don't think anyone listening to this will be able to hear it, because it's just so lost of time. And this isn't just about the lost mediums on. I mean, this isn't also the lost medium when it comes to from the website shutting down some of that, but it also can be maybe the artist or designer him or herself, doesn't feel the need of wanting to archive or save said work and decides to throw it all away. I mean, it has happened multiple times, and not just like, I mean, many people I know, like from different fandoms I've been, have that scenario where at one point you see their work and you see what they do and it's great, but all of a sudden, at a drop of a hat, they end up just, they don't want to be part of the fanbase anymore, and they just get rid of everything that's on their history. Because I remember, like, in my Splatoon days, I mean, there were some artists and animators that led me into the fandom itself. And the moment that things happened, I mean, a lot of things happened that led to a major departure, and some people just essentially getting bored of the whole server or the whole community. They just packed their bags and just essentially removed everything. And it stinks, because there are some history and there's some sentimental things that I feel like was worth keeping. And I mean, I'm glad you kind of brought it up, because this kind of led me now having this desire of wanting to archive everything, because not everything is forever. And in a way, what happens if, I mean, who knows, one day if DeviantArt implodes or Twitter actually implodes, or let's say if an artist decides to call it quits and just move everything altogether. And it hurts. It really does hurt. Just the idea of someone essentially throwing all away. And I guess that led me to this obsession of wanting to archive on designers and people I find influential and get everything much as I can before the inevitable arrive. Because it's not just like, I guess it's mostly a sentimental reason, but on the other, it's just mostly, I find some of the stuff that people make, whether it's like a fashion designer to an architecture and stuff like that, very, very valuable for my craft and for future people, because maybe they not believe it, but it does. Maybe someone will take the idea of what they just made and make something great out of it. I mean, I, for one, one thing I love to do myself is I love to salvage abandoned crafts and abandoned ideas from people whether it's character design, story ideas, all that stuff, and bring a new life and repurpose it and see what I can make out of it. And that's what I've done. Some of the characters that I managed that aren't in my stories now were originally throwaway designs and one-off characters that were long abandoned 10 years ago. And thankfully I got the clearance on them because now they'll be actually utilized in the story. I guess the best example I can give you on what I mean about the importance of like archiving it for future generations, and I guess it's a way to help inspire future designers so that is Virgil Abloh from Off-White. So what happened was with him, of course he has the book, he has this website called archive.org, there's that. But the important part is when he was around, there was actually two YouTube channels. One is the official Off-White, and the other one is, I guess it's like the other Off-White when Virgil was kind of discovering his days in 2013 when he was transitioning from Pyrex to the other brand. So it was that era. And that has a lot of unique videos and adverts and other promos and stuff from that channel itself. And thankfully I was able to save everything before that channel went away, because ever since Virgil's passing, that YouTube channel was long gone. It's forgotten, and it's like purged. And all that's left is the original Off-White, which is now handed down by another designer. And it feels like all that effort and all of that history, all that creation that Virgil has made in that period, I feel like nothing mattered. And it stinks because there are a lot of unique designs and that would never come to fruition that would have been well used if it was handed out by someone else. I mean, to some people, they may see this like weird or off-putting, but to me, it's like, if it's something that I like, if it's something that I feel like I could make something use out of it, I will save it. It doesn't matter what it is. And there's a reason why I invested in 8 terabyte hard drive, because I mean, time has proven again that history, history has proven that a lot of things that I've witnessed and experienced, from fandoms, or from incidents to what people post, it happened in one time, and then it's forever lost. And when people try to recount the incident or event that happened in that time period when I was around, I have no way of proving it, or people won't even know what happened. And I guess in a way, I find it kind of dangerous, because if people aren't able to learn from the mistakes or what has happened, then I guess the incident will bound to repeat. I feel like I'm just going all over the place, but that what you just said really sparks out, like really made me like, yeah, there's a lot from that. Alright, I'm going to move on to... Alright, so the foliage is done. Next, I'm going to work on the sand. I guess I just want to add this one last bit, and maybe it's just me, but I understand why people tend to delete something like their old work or what they used to make. I get it. Some people have a reasoning, whether it is they want to clear up space or they're rebranding and they need to change their identity or they need to change their way of perception. I get that. But I feel like I feel like for the ones that really do admire said work and stuff like that, I mean, if I were in that position, I would just leave it like that. I would just leave it open for people to admire or at least take inspiration of what I used to make, even if it's something that I'm no longer associated or do anymore. I mean, not everyone will think of that way, but it's just that there were a lot of designs and stuff that people have made in the past that I wish I could have saved, and it's sad because it felt like a lot of potential and a lot of effort just gone away, and there's no way for me to get it back. I don't want to get a little too sappy on this part, but yeah, that one really made me think of something. I guess I can branch off from this topic when it comes to archives and preserving history. One of the things I do in my job is we actually have like a huge catalog of lost tapes that were untouched for 20 to 30 years. And yeah, there has been projects of us wanting to digitize them and possibly put them up on like Google Drive or somewhere so people can view them again, but it never came to fruition. But when I stepped forward, when I took in the role, and when I saw these tapes, it's just a lot of these tapes were, you know, a lot of these tapes were actually events, from concerts to other events. And these were performed by people and like individuals. And it got me thinking, it's like, these has been rusted or rotted in like some cupboard for 20 or 30 years. And I feel like they deserve to be brought to light. And last December, while sticking out at my former supervisor's closet, I happened to discover a huge amount of trash that was left behind, and a lot of stuff that was left behind as well. And what I discovered in that place, like, I happened to find like old VHS tapes, TV tapes, CDs, DVDs, from envelopes buried in 20, 30 pounds of books, like all like this all scattered around. And some of these were like pretty much like sentimental events. So ever since I witnessed that, it kind of led me wanting to digitize them and make them public to everyone. Because I believe the idea of freedom of information and the idea of wanting to make things public as much as I can. I feel like there's nothing on stuff like that. I feel like it should deserve to be circulated. It should deserve to be admired to someone. And I have cases of family members coming up to me once I digitized these tapes, and they told me, like, they haven't seen like this for a long time. I actually had people coming up to me with their well-treasured VHS tape wrapped in bubble wrap because they wanted to preserve it so much just for me to digitize it for them. And it's like amazing just being able to unlock that memory of them. I guess it circles back to the archives. It's like I have archives from people from other fandoms and people from other communities that once people actually reach up to me, it's like, hey, do you have the archives of this? I don't know, like just being able to provide that lost information to them is like rewarding, because some of these artists actually take full inspiration from these people, and I have the ability for me to actually provide it. And it has led them to make great creations from other artists and stuff like that. Again, I'm just referring to people outside, like people I used to, people from different fandoms, like from Splatoon days to the people, like other fandoms I used to associate with.
Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I really offered society,
Yeah, I'm gonna end that topic because I could drag on a little too long, and I feel like I'm gonna end up repeating myself. So I'll just
and play.
I'm just gonna end with that. I don't want to go too crazy on that thing because I feel like I kind of went a little bored.
History is my work. I don't pretend to go uptown and do anything fancy. I can.
You like it?
Apologies, I'm just something came up. I had to just read this message.
Stand up. When is your lies end? When does the truth begin? When is reality setting, or does it not matter?
I really enjoy hearing, and sometimes I'm too distracted by something to fully respond to what you're saying, but it's always fascinating to hear you go down the rabbit hole or a particular subject. Well, I'm glad you think of that way, Annie. Some people, from my interactions, they tend to be annoyed if I get too dragged on certain topics. So that's why I try to limit myself as much as I can. Because if I have to, I will go detail. But of course, there are some details I cannot disclose for obvious reasons. I mean, maybe later down I will loosen up. It's just that I'm still not used to this whole like platform itself. Like, remember, I just if anyone does not know, I guess I'll just put it out there. I have been mostly the anonymous artist for most of my life. So transitioning from what I used to do, like from just simply post an art and just run, to actually put myself out there is just a totally different world for me. And I'm slowly getting used to it, but it's just like it just feels off. It just feels off, like to actually have to stay and not run away. Okay, I did not put I will say this, I did not put a timer on round 3, so I'm just going to keep on going until I feel like I have to stop. Well, I don't think it's just me. In general, consumers of online content enjoy hearing creators extensively discuss the topic they're passionate about. Alright, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, that's great to hear. It's just that I'm just so used to controlling the amount of stuff I used to say. Because, I mean, if I can't, I mean, I can get a little overboard. So I'm trying to control myself not to do that. But again, if people want it, again, soon I'll loosen up and all that stuff. But like right now, I can't speak much because I'm losing my voice because I'm actually not used to speaking that much. I guess I can say is it does feel good being transparent and actually showing what you do to people. I know I keep referring to the guy Virgil Abloh, but one of his methodologies he tends to do when it comes to his work is not only the designs he makes and the aesthetic and branding he puts is unique, but the one thing I admire from Virgil is his ability to be very open, being like an open book and being very open about his creative process and along with the things he does. Because for what I discovered, it doesn't apply to just artists who just draws. It also applies to fashion designers, to architects, all of that. And that is, I get it. I get it. Some people, they tend to they want to keep their magic and their sort of like creative process hidden, because I understand why, because sometimes they don't want to be too distracted from the fame, or in other cases they don't want to be too distracted or lose their values of their mystery or something like that. Like they just want to focus on just doing their work and that's it. To me, I feel like being able to willing to open up and show off what you've made to people not only benefits you but also to other people around you.
I see a day far away.
Because here's the thing. When I was studying for animations, there was a professor who came up one day, a little background on this guy. He used to work in Hollywood, and he used to work on special effects for people, like big clients, and gets paid a good amount on what he does. But there was a quote that he has made that I will never forget, and it goes like this. He told me, it's simple, but all he said was, the best thing you can do on this industry is to help people. I know it sounds very like a very blanket and a very stale comment, but his reasoning and the context behind that does make sense. Because for what he has told me, what has happened was in the industry, especially in the career process, you do get people who has like a very huge ego, whether they're an amateur or a professional, that tends to hide off from people or fend off or fight off people to gain that sort of superiority towards others. And I guess that sort of animosity and that sort of like barbarian mindset does leave the whole community and the whole environment very kind of toxic and very competitive in some way. So when I heard that, it just made me it just kind of encourages me to be more help. The desire of wanting to help and the desire of wanting to show and I guess assist people on what they do. Because, I mean, technically, yeah, I could, if I wish to be like a dickhead and just keep on remain anonymous and just post my work, like post my illustrations and never talk to anyone, I mean, I could do that. But, I mean, I've done that for a long period of my life, and it gets pretty lonely. And again, while I'm still in the I'm still like learning my way through, it feels good finally opening up and then finally actually not being afraid of hiding or being ashamed of what you do. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Because it doesn't apply to just like professionals in the industry itself, it also applies to like everyday people like you and I in communities. That tends to happen. Because when I was in the Splatoon fandom back in 2016 to 2020, I happened to see a good amount of people with unusual large egos who will just simply post their art and be very selective who they talk to. And with that, it's just simply, in a way, it does leave like kind of like an unwelcoming environment to people, because it just feels like a competitive game to each other. So it's kind of why I tend to just simply remain like anonymous, because I don't want to deal with that kind of BS. Because it's just like, going back to the idea of free information, it's just, yeah, I mean, technically I do have something unique to show and do, but at the same time, I feel like someone else can do it too, in their own unique take. Because what I do, because technically with the skills and stuff like that I have, technically anyone else can do it. But but the only difference is when someone tries to replicate my style in some way, it's the direction or how I take the craft under my accord. Because yeah, maybe someone next to me can generate an AI of my work or tries to replicate the style that I have, but they'll never feel the same experience or lead the same direction as I have. Okay. Um, I feel like this is the. I feel like you're. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't have. I apologize. I did not put a timer on this one, but I feel like we already elapsed an hour. But this is the end of round 3. So I feel like I've gotten the idea of the background. I feel like I got the foliage down like to the T. The sand, I feel like could use some work. I was just simply throwing things together, but it is slowly coming together in some way. I just have to work more with the details and like the shading on that. The buildings is kind of like the biggest thing I got to focus on, and especially the clouds. That is something I have to take and consider with. Um, However, consider with progress, I definitely do feel like there has been a good amount of progress today, even though we only done, even though it's only been like 3.5 hours. I mean, it's still very short. The frisbee, like I said, it's already done. The background is like halfway done, and all that's left is the clouds, the lighting, shading, and that's it. If I have some extra time, I do want to add in a bird, but a seagull. But that is if I have the time. But I don't. My deadline. I want to have a deadline to be Saturday. That's like the hard deadline. So that's the goal I'm aiming for. Unfortunately for tomorrow, I won't. I won't be able. I won't be available to have like a live session because I have an event I have to attend. So I think I'm gonna make tomorrow my break, unless I cheat and do some extra works like offline. Um, but I'm hoping for a Saturday. I should have like a longer session, and I should be able to start earlier. That way, we can make Saturday the final day to conclude this project once and for all. Because I mean, it's surprising how long it took, but I feel like it's been very rewarding on what I've been doing. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say for today. I'll just say thank you so much for stopping by and uh, s- hearing me rambling for 3 hours straight. Um, I feel like I've slowly gotten better of communicating and actually detailing certain things. Um, I'm still not used to speaking this much, so I'm apologize for that. But yeah, nothing much I can really add. But thank you all so much for stopping by, and um, I should have another session happening on Saturday. So in the meantime, have a good evening and have a good night.